A single decision in the Middle East is now testing a rule the entire global economy depends on. Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong is warning that if countries start using key sea routes as leverage, it could change how global trade works. He said this clearly during a meeting with about 40 countries discussing a ceasefire and how to secure shipping routes. The focus is the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy choke points. Around 20 million barrels of oil move through it every day. That makes it one of the most sensitive pressure points in global supply chains. When conflict escalated earlier this year, the strait was largely closed to other ships. That disruption pushed up energy prices and added pressure across markets. Now the situation is unclear. Iran says the strait will stay open after a ceasefire. But the United States says its naval blockade will continue until a wider deal is reached. So even with reduced fighting, shipping conditions are still unpredictable. Here's where the deeper issue comes in. This is not just about access. It is about whether any country can control an international waterway during conflict. Singapore is pushing back strongly against that idea. Because once this becomes accepted, it sets a precedent for other regions. And Singapore sits right next to the Straits of Malacca and Singapore, two of the busiest maritime routes in the world. If similar actions happen here, the impact would be immediate and severe. This links directly to international law. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, ships have the right of transit passage through key straits. That means no arbitrary restrictions and no selective access. If this principle weakens, trade routes become tools of pressure instead of shared infrastructure. That shift would not only affect governments. It would affect everyday costs. Higher shipping risks mean higher insurance. Higher insurance leads to higher transport costs. And that eventually shows up in food, fuel, and daily expenses. Singapore is calling for a return to a fully open Strait of Hormuz with no tolls and no restrictions. It is also supporting international efforts to protect navigation and ensure the safety of seafarers. There are even discussions about a defensive international mission to secure these routes when conditions allow. But timing and coordination will be critical to avoid further escalation. The bigger picture is becoming clearer. Global trade has always depended on open sea lanes backed by rules. What is being tested now is whether those rules still hold when tensions rise. If they don't, smaller economies that depend on open trade will face the biggest risks. So here's the question. If controlling a key shipping route becomes a strategy during conflict, where does the line get drawn next? Like, share and subscribe to 2230.